Hi again from AID-ucate. This is Sharika, and I want to say a big thank you. I am sending virtual hugs to all of you. I want to thank you so much for your support. Let me tell you, I really never planned on starting a YouTube channel. And when I did, I figured, this was the best way for me to get to my students, for them to have this place for them to go and hear my voice whenever they needed to, because I couldn't be there with them physically in the classroom. And I just thought, wow, let me just do this. But I soon realized that I don't have to just have it limited to my students, but I could share. I could also extend what I know and the information I'm sharing with them to others. And so thank you. We have now over 200 subscribers, and I just am so grateful. I'm especially grateful because, it feels good knowing that I have a purpose. I can help even those I don't even know. So, I also want to use this opportunity to say all the very best to those of you who will be sitting CSEC English A and other CSEC subjects. I really do wish you all the best. The key is really just staying calm and confident. You can do great things, I guarantee it. So now, I want to just do some tips. Like, I'm really just trying to summarize everything you need to know for sitting at paper 1 for CSEC English A. One of the things that you have to remember is the format of the paper. 25 discrete items. These really test your knowledge of the structure, sentence structure, the words of the language, okay, the vocabulary, yeah, and grammar. And then 35 reading comprehension questions based on 5 different pieces. A poem, a story, an expository piece, an argumentative piece, and a visual piece. So I'm just going to go through this. I went way back, and I'm going to show you just briefly what each of these things will require. So remember, one of the other tips is just to tell you that it's so important that you read because you want to know what these pieces are saying. And so we read for meaning. We cannot just say the words we see, and then at the end of the question we are blank. We really need to make sure that from the beginning we're reading because we need to know what these stimuli are saying. And so the exam really tests your ability to understand what you are reading so that you can create meaning for yourself. And it's multiple choice. There are 4 options, but only one will be correct. So if you read carefully, then you also know that you will choose wisely. And finally, it's so important to rely on your experience, what you've heard, what you've seen, to really help you to understand what you're reading. So here we go. I just want to break it down for you in terms of how to approach each section. Now remember, for discrete items, they're varied. You could have synonyms, you could have antonyms, finding what's wrong with the sentence, in terms of grammar, maybe spelling, twisting up your sentence, construction shift, or finding an equivalent sentence. But I chose these 2, and I went way back to 2012. Now, this one, in A, it wants you to find the word that would best complete the meaning of the sentence. And I love that instruction. In other words, the sentence is already giving you a particular meaning. But then, there's a word that's missing. So you have to look at your options to see which word would best continue that meaning and not change it. So in A, we're seeing that there are many who would try to blank your efforts because of their jealousy. Because of their jealousy. Somebody who's jealous, you're putting in the effort, the work, yeah? And people are going, they're saying many would be there who would try to And when you look at your options, think about it. This is not a positive sounding sentence. So of all the words, your best option would be thwart. No other word would be strong enough to really carry that meaning of the sentence. In B, one of my favorites, equivalent sentences. Again, it's so important to look at the original sentence, turn it around in your mind before trying to look at what the options are. So it says, the budget speech was undoubtedly one of the briefest in years. The budget speech was undoubtedly, without a doubt, I'm pretty sure, no doubt, one of. And to say something is one of, meaning this means that there are more. Yeah. So the budget speech wasn't the only budget speech. There have been others. But what did they say about this particular budget speech? It was one of the briefest, meaning there were others that were brief too. But in years, this was among those that were brief. So when you look at all the options, it never said that other speeches have been too long, or other speeches were better, or this one was better. And A is just a little bit off. It's almost perfect, but it didn't quite give us everything we had in the beginning. And so B would have been our best option. Then we move on to the poem. And our poems are awesome. I mean, the writers have to be creative. This is creative writing. And so it would not be fun to have a poem that just speaks so plainly and just tells us everything as they are. It now requires of you imagination. And so, instead of saying, I feel fearful as a writer of a poem, you want to take that fear and make it come alive for your reader, because different people will interpret your fear in different ways. But you want them to know exactly what your fear is. And so you tell them that you lose the ability to breathe, and that your scream is trapped in your lungs, and your heart is trying to break from the chains that is holding it bound. And so that way you are telling your readers exactly what is happening in terms of your fear. And so this is the person's perspective, and they require you to be very careful in analyzing their words so that you can create meaning. Okay, so I fixed my lines, and what I have underlined, we're looking at rhyme. So, and this is not the case for every poem, but that is something you can look out for, where words rhyme. Literary devices like our similes or metaphors, personification. As we read as well, we want to try to pick up on the tone and the mood of the poem, and really the purpose or the message that is being shared with us in this poem. And this will come off based on the choice of words that the poet uses. Next, we have our story. And our story is less intense in comparison to the poem. And it should be a little bit easier to understand as well, because you have your characters now, you're seeing a progression of activities, and you're basically learning about these people in the story. But also in a story, you'll find that there are literary devices, and I've underlined a few for you. Imagery is still being created, because it is a story, and one of the things, if you were to write a story, you are being asked to be creative in how you get your readers to picture what is going on in your story and feel what is going on in the story. Next, we have the expository piece, and this is usually quite easy to understand, because what is being presented is information that is factual. Right, so it's expository because it's factual, and the information being presented should be straightforward. It should be clear once you read something. That is literally what it means. And you will find that as the writer presents facts, for example, what I've underlined in the second paragraph, you will find that this is now being backed up by evidences. Next is the argumentative piece. It is somewhat similar to the expository piece in terms of facts being presented. You will find that evidences are being used to back up the fact, but then it goes a bit further in having somewhat of a stronger tone because a lot of opinions are being shared as well in an argumentative piece. You'll find that considerable effort is being made to share the opinions of the writer so that it will appeal to you, whether it's to your emotions or to your intelligence. But you'll find that persuasive devices are being used. The tone is a lot stronger in an argumentative piece. And so persuasive devices can include, a hyperbole where this person is exaggerating. It can include your rhetorical questions and repetition. And finally, the visual extract. And this can be a chart, an advertisement, but it does pay attention to what the information is that is being directed at you, and look at how it is being arranged, and look at everything, even fine print. Some advertisements come with some fine print, some come, and it may be contact information, and some come with images within the big image. And so it's so important to pay attention to everything that is going on in the image. Finally, use your time wisely. So it's 1 hour and 30 minutes to answer 60 questions. You know the format of the paper. Do not leave any question unanswered. It's not fair to lose a mark because you didn't try, so always try. And if you find that there are questions that are difficult at the moment, it's okay to skip them, but always go back to them. So go to questions that you think are easier to do, and then go back to those harder questions. I want to wish you all the best. Thank you for your support. And please, if you find this informative, share it with your friends. Don't keep it to yourself. I would appreciate that. Thank you so much from AID-ucate.